Thank you all for coming back. So, my name is Adam, and I am an astronomer, which means, thank you. Which means, actually, I spend most of my time explaining to people why I too don't know why Libras are so damn indecisive. It's true, people get my job confused for astrology all the time. Astrology is kind of an easy mistake to make. If someone comes up to you at a party and says, "Oh, you're a Pisces. Ew." They're an astrologer. Me, on the other hand, I'm an astronomer, which means I'm interested in studying the science of the universe, which means we don't get invited to parties. Now we have that distinction cleared up, I want to tell you what I do with the rest of my time. As an astronomer, I get to study beautiful galaxies. I get to uncover the mysteries of the universe. And I also try to save us from the potentially and devastating space apocalypse. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to tell you about how we are trying to prevent the world's satellites from destroying each other. I think we know why satellites are important. We use them every day. We use their near-instant communication system to get our weekly fix of better homes and gardens. We use them to tell us if we should wear shorts, or if we should bring an umbrella to keep our shorts dry. But I think we all know the real reason why we love satellites is because without them, and without GPS, and without Google Maps, none of us would have found this fucking place. We'd still be all struggling to read that street atlas that our parents still keep in the glove box of the car for some reason. As an astronomer, there's only one thing I find more irritating than that Libra that can't decide if the turn is a left or a right. And that's this dickhead. It's Elon Musk. In particular, what I hate about him is his midlife crisis hobby of sending thousands of satellites into space and orbiting Earth. Most people, when they have a midlife crisis, they do something normal, like buy that fancy new car they've always wanted. Maybe travel the world, see the sights. Maybe buy something really expensive they're going to regret in 10 years' time. Or maybe just one fucking year. For Elon, he's done all of that, but it wasn't enough. He's instead decided to take up the hobby of sending thousands of satellites into orbit and sending space junk into orbit, including that fancy new car that he bought. You don't believe me? Let's look at the evidence. This is the number of satellite launches each year. It coincidentally spikes around the same time that Elon Musk realizes he's about to turn 50. And all these Starlink satellites that they're all there to serve extremely expensive internet to the population the size of Brisbane. That's a lot of satellites for very few customers. But that's not all, there's more problems. This is a real astronomical image and has been ruined with Musk's Starlink satellites. There are 19 Starlink satellites that have been photobombing this image. This makes me very angry, and I think you'd be very angry too if that really expensive family portrait you bought at, say, Disneyland was ended up being photobombed by rich man's junk. I think secondly, and probably more importantly, the more stuff we send up into space and around Earth, the more likely that some of those satellites will collide. And that's what I want to talk about. And this, when they collide, this can cause a disaster. This can cause the space apocalypse. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, didn't this guy say he was an astronomer that doesn't get invited to parties? What exactly does this have to do with astronomy and satellites? Well, here's where the astronomy comes in. We've built giant telescopes to image the wonders of the universe. For instance, this is the Dark Energy Camera. It is built to determine what the universe is made of. And just like that person the size of Bigfoot in front of you at the Taylor Swift Eras concert that's just recording on their phone, Elon Musk and his satellites keep blocking our view of the main event. They do look like dicks, by the way. A lot of time and effort goes into flagging and removing these satellites. This is another image of a satellite. So this wastes hundreds of thousands of dollars each year and my time, which is the most important thing to me. But maybe if there's another way we think about this. We've built large telescopes to image the wonders of the universe. Maybe we've accidentally built the largest collection of satellite tracking stations on Earth. Now, this is where we get to the uncomfortable part of the evening, where I have a lot of bad news for some of you. But size really does matter. And bigger is so much better. For telescopes, sorry. A larger telescope has a much larger light collection area, which means a larger telescope can see much smaller and fainter objects around Earth. Look how big and beautiful this telescope is. Elon Musk wishes he has a telescope this big. This is a new telescope that's being built in Chile called the Vera Rubin Observatory. It's so large and so sensitive that it can actually measure satellites orbiting Earth and but accidentally detect hundreds to thousands of satellites each night. And that's not all. It's actually sensitive enough that it can actually detect some of the debris field around Earth. The debris field, that's the small number of pieces of metal that have broken off from previous satellite collisions. There are hundreds of thousands of small pieces of metal orbiting Earth 10 times the speed of a bullet, and we have no idea where they fucking are. And so this is what we're doing. We're using the world's most sophisticated telescopes that was used to measure and to observe the wonders of the universe, instead using them to find, track, and predict the locations of satellites and debris around Earth. And then using that information to prevent satellites from colliding in the first place. And now you might be thinking, wait, why are satellites collisions so bad? Well, just for a moment, I want you to just close your eyes. I want you to imagine what it would be for two satellites to be colliding in space. You imagining? All right, cool. You can open your eyes. You don't have to imagine, it's already fucking happened. In 2009, two satellites collide into each other at 10 times. That's the right reaction. Yeah, two satellites collided into each other at 10 times the speed of a bullet and broke into over 2,000 pieces. Now you have multiple broken, unmovable satellites in orbit, and that debris can then go on to damage other satellites. If you're a satellite and you break down in space, you can't just call up 13, 30, 32 and get the Lumic to come to you. You break down, that's it, you're done. You're space rubbish now. And I don't know if you know this, but there's no fucking clean up a trailer day for space rubbish. Pieces of that collision that I just showed you earlier almost collided into the International Space Station 3 years later. Like that one. The astronauts on board at the time, they were so scared they had to get into the escape module just in case the collisions happened. This is a very big and dangerous deal. So satellite collisions can lead to further disasters. Disasters that are worse than the disaster that the movie Gravity was. It's true, you know. So, satellite collisions, if we aren't careful, can lead to further debris and more broken satellites in orbit. This is the space apocalypse, the Kessler effect. And this is the disaster, because you have a bunch of broken, malfunctioning communication satellites in orbit. That's just the Optus network. So obviously we can't allow this to happen. We can't allow the space apocalypse to occur. So that's why the first and most fundamental step to solving the space apocalypse is to know where everything is around Earth, what orbits it on, and if it's in a collision path with anything. And this is called space situational awareness. You might be thinking, surely there's just some big database somewhere with all the satellites and where they are at all times. And that's only partially true. There is a database of satellites. However, it's not complete. You can imagine there's a bunch of top secret spy satellites on there. They're not on there for obvious reasons, right? And turns out, satellites are kind of just like toddlers. You look away for 1 second and they aren't where they're expected to be. And when you do find them, they're crying their eyes out, calling for their mummy, and then shoving that mysterious brown substance of mysterious option into their mouths. But yeah. So satellites, we have to track satellites like they're toddlers. We know their last known orbits, but it turns out they go outdated faster than that baby spinach you bought 2 days ago. You know you should throw that out. You're not going to eat it. Right. The reason why we don't know the exact position of satellites is because satellites move so fast around Earth, there's actually a little uncertainty about where a satellite exactly is. And if you were the owner of a mysterious top secret spy satellite, maybe you wouldn't tell anyone where it was. And maybe you wouldn't tell anyone if you moved it. Because it actually takes some time to move a satellite. And so because space operators are trying to avoid that aforementioned space junk that I just told you about, they're constantly moving and updating the orbits of their satellites. So it takes some time to communicate where satellites are. And if you don't know where it is, you can't find it. So we have to be constantly observing these satellites. We can't just assume their locations. We have to update their positions in real time with the best observations we can. We can't just take the information from the satellite database as word, right? Because otherwise, if we don't, we'll lead to the space apocalypse again, all right? What I want you to leave you with tonight is that if we aren't careful, there's a very real chance that the Kessler effect, the space apocalypse, will occur. And currently, the person most likely to cause the space apocalypse is Elon Musk. Congratulations. Come up with like a crown. But for the rest of you, if you would like to keep your space apocalypse science fiction rather than science fact, maybe hold on off that Tesla Model 3 you had your eyes on, Jake. Maybe try catch a car. Not catch a car, catch a train. Or ride a bike. Or maybe just, walk. But, and for any members of the Australian Parliament in the room with us tonight, please keep funding space situational awareness. Because if we don't, we have to take the word of the guy that said the Cybertruck was indestructible. Thank you.